What really happened to Dave Kindig, the mastermind behind Bitchin Rides, and why did his journey unfold in ways few ever expected? From the early days of experimenting in a small garage to skyrocketing fame on national television, his story is filled with unseen pressures, legal battles over creative ownership, and the hidden strain of running a high-demand custom shop. Every decision, every build, and every public moment carried stakes most people never realized. Stay with us, because the full story of Dave Kindig will leave you stunned. The Hidden Rise. The story begins in a small workshop where Dave Kindig spent long evenings experimenting with whatever materials he could afford. Instead of copying established designers, he tested combinations that most people thought were pointless. Fiberglass scraps, discarded metal sheets, and improvised tools became the foundation of ideas that slowly pushed him toward a style that felt entirely his own. Another part of his origin took shape during his teenage years, when he began taking apart old bicycles simply to understand how their curves and proportions worked. These early dissections sharpened an intuition for balance and movement. While friends admired finished products, Dave focused on the invisible geometry beneath them, analyzing how each line influenced the next. That early curiosity would later become one of his defining creative strengths. A different milestone emerged when he discovered industrial design books at a local library. Instead of reading them for pleasure, he studied them as blueprints for unlocking the logic of styling. Every page offered lessons on ergonomics, visual flow, and proportion control. The more he learned, the more he realized that custom automotive work could be elevated far beyond simple restoration. Something else that pushed him forward was the challenge of creating designs without access to high-end tools. Without specialized equipment, he had to invent his own workarounds. Metal parts were shaped by hand pressure, and small imperfections forced him to refine his technique repeatedly. That constant fight against limitations produced a level of precision that would eventually set him apart from other builders who relied heavily on machinery. At the same time, Dave was quietly absorbing influences from unexpected places. He studied architecture, product packaging, and even typography to understand how forms communicate emotion. These unrelated fields exposed him to design philosophies that few custom shops considered relevant. When he eventually stepped into the automotive world, this broad visual vocabulary helped him create builds that felt both familiar and completely reinvented. Another turning point came when he began sketching vehicles in sketchbooks instead of copying photographs. Each drawing was an interpretation rather than a replica, which slowly taught him how to translate imagination into workable structure. As his notebooks filled with hundreds of sketches, he started identifying patterns within his own creative tendencies. This self-awareness allowed him to refine a signature look long before he became known for it publicly. A new phase of growth started when local enthusiasts began asking him for small custom pieces. These early commissions were simple, yet they functioned as training grounds for learning how clients think. Navigating their expectations taught him the value of communication, planning, and documentation. Every successful delivery attracted one more recommendation, gradually building a reputation without fanfare. One of the most surprising elements in his rise involved a moment when he almost left the automotive path entirely. Frustrated by financial uncertainty, he considered pursuing a stable career outside design. But a chance encounter with a restored hot rod during a local event reignited his ambition. The car's craftsmanship reminded him why the field mattered to him. That renewed motivation pushed him deeper into experimentation and accelerated his progress toward becoming a standout creator. Growth continued when he began studying advanced paint techniques. Color layering, custom blends, and reflective surfacing became tools for storytelling. Instead of simply painting cars, he used color as a narrative device, creating emotional impact through tone and depth. This mastery eventually helped him build finishes that collectors recognized instantly. Another unnoticed but vital step was his decision to learn fabrication from mentors who rarely shared their methods. By watching, listening, and practicing in silence, he gained access to techniques passed down informally through generations of builders. These lessons enriched his technical foundation and allowed him to execute ideas that others considered too complex. Finally, the moment arrived when his style became distinct enough for people to recognize it without asking who designed the build. His curves, proportions, and finishes spoke with a visual language that no one else used. That silent recognition marked the point where anonymity ended and his ascent into national awareness began. What early challenge pushed him into the unexpected opportunity that nearly failed before it even started? Stay with us as the mystery deepens. The TV pitch that almost failed. The door to the Motor Trend offices opened to a room full of executives who had seen countless pitches, but rarely one like Dave Kindig's. From the first moments, it was clear that his approach did not fit the traditional mold. He didn't come with polished scripts or rehearsed lines. Instead, he walked in with models, sketches, and a vision that seemed more like artistry than television programming. Right away, his unorthodox methods raised eyebrows. While most pitches focused on flashy transformations or extreme budget stunts, Dave spoke about design philosophy, storytelling through builds, and the emotional connection between a car and its owner. The producers were intrigued but skeptical, unsure whether this vision could translate to a broad audience. A turning point came when he presented a mini demonstration. Using small-scale models, Dave illustrated how a vehicle could be reshaped entirely while preserving its soul. The executives were momentarily captivated, but then confusion set in. Could this slow, thoughtful process keep viewers engaged week after week? The tension in the room was palpable as they debated whether to take a risk on someone who seemed to value artistry over spectacle. The situation worsened when an executive questioned his on-camera presence. Dave had no formal training in performance or broadcasting. He was naturally expressive but not polished in the way television demanded. It seemed that a misstep here could end the pitch entirely. However, his authenticity started to shine through. Unlike other personalities they had encountered, Dave did not try to conform. His enthusiasm for the craft was contagious, and slowly the room's energy shifted. Behind the scenes, a last-minute decision altered the course of the meeting. Producers realized that instead of asking him to act like a traditional host, they could leverage his genuine passion. Cameras could capture him working alongside his team, letting his talent tell the story. This subtle pivot reframed the pitch entirely and turned hesitation into curiosity. The room began to see that a show built around skill, personality, and process might be unlike anything else on the network. Even after this breakthrough, challenges remained. Executives worried about the complexity of his projects and whether audiences could follow intricate fabrication processes. To address this, Dave developed visual guides, quick explanations, and on-the-spot demonstrations designed to translate technical detail into compelling narrative. These innovations helped bridge the gap between a craftsman's workshop and a television studio. Another factor that almost derailed the pitch was timing. The network's schedule was crowded, and executives questioned whether a show like this could find its slot. Yet persistence played a role. Dave insisted on showing not just the results of his work, but the creative journey, emphasizing discovery, problem-solving, and the satisfaction of bringing ideas to life. That insistence on authenticity began to convince the hesitant producers. A subtle but critical element was his team. The people working with Dave brought energy and commitment that complemented his vision. Their chemistry translated to the screen, creating dynamics that the network had not anticipated. In this sense, the pitch wasn't just about a single person, but about a collective approach to craft, teamwork, and storytelling. By the end of the meeting, the network understood that Bitchin Rides was not a typical car show. It was a narrative about innovation, passion, and human creativity. What could have been dismissed as a niche concept now looked like a flagship series waiting to happen. The executives recognized that Dave's vision offered something rare: authenticity fused with spectacle, an emotional resonance that could draw viewers beyond the usual demographic. As production began, the lessons from this near failure shaped every decision. Dave learned how to balance artistry with entertainment, how to make complex processes accessible, and how to maintain integrity under pressure. These early negotiations, fraught with doubt, laid the foundation for a show that would captivate audiences nationwide. Which spark of conflict would soon test the boundaries of creativity and ownership in ways no one expected. Come with us to explore the hidden corners of the story. The creative ownership clash. Just as Bitchin Rides began to gain traction, an unexpected storm emerged. A client dispute over a custom build escalated in ways that no one anticipated. The question at the center was deceptively simple: who truly owns an idea? On the surface, it seemed like standard business disagreement, but beneath it lay a tension that would expose vulnerabilities in the custom car world. The dispute started quietly, with emails and phone calls disputing modifications that had been made according to the shop's usual standards. The client claimed creative input had been ignored, while the shop maintained that the designs reflected their expertise and vision. What began as a conversation about specific parts soon evolved into a broader question of intellectual property. Tension increased when internal discussions revealed that some of the designs incorporated elements that had never been formally documented. Dave had always trusted his team to execute his ideas faithfully, but the lack of formal records became a point of contention. Suddenly, the shop's reputation for innovation collided with the murky world of legal ownership. What made the situation more volatile was the nature of the custom work itself. Each vehicle is not just a product, but a story of collaboration, creativity, and countless small decisions made in the moment. Assigning ownership in such a dynamic environment is never straightforward, and both sides had passionate arguments. For Dave, it was about protecting years of experimentation and a style that had become a recognizable signature. For the client, it was about perceived entitlement to influence and control. The issue escalated when the media caught wind of the disagreement. Reports hinted at tension within the shop, sparking curiosity and speculation among fans. Suddenly, a private legal dispute became a public question of ethics, creativity, and fairness in the custom car industry. The scrutiny amplified pressure on the team, forcing them to navigate both legal advice and public perception simultaneously. Adding another layer of complexity, former collaborators surfaced with claims that elements of Dave's designs resembled earlier projects. While the similarities were often minor, the timing and visibility of the dispute made them magnified in the public eye. This meant that even allies were forced to consider whether shared ideas were properly credited or inadvertently borrowed. Every decision was now part of a larger narrative about intellectual property and creative authority. To counter the rising tension, Dave and his team implemented meticulous documentation processes. Sketches, fabrication notes, and timestamps became formal evidence of authorship. What had once been informal records to guide production now served as critical legal tools. The shift revealed a side of the custom world rarely discussed: the invisible labor that protects originality in a field built on hands-on creativity. The courtroom was not just a stage for legal arguments, it became a lens through which fans and fellow builders witnessed the fragility of creative ownership. Depositions, testimonies, and expert opinions highlighted both technical skill and artistic vision. What seemed like a single dispute expanded into a lesson for the entire industry about protecting innovation while maintaining collaboration. Despite the tension, the experience also solidified Dave's understanding of his craft's value. He realized that innovation carries both admiration and vulnerability. Every build, no matter how small, needed careful consideration of ownership, documentation, and transparency. This awareness would shape how he approached future projects, collaborations, and negotiations, blending artistry with foresight. The clash of ideas had lasting consequences beyond legal resolutions. It affected team dynamics, client relationships, and even the philosophy of the shop. While the cameras captured polished final products, the reality behind the scenes was a delicate balancing act of creativity, authority, and ethics. How would a single high-value commission push these lessons to the breaking point and change the trajectory of the shop entirely? Stay here as the next twist unfolds. The high-value build that turned into a courtroom saga. The moment the commission arrived, the team sensed its significance immediately. The client requested a build unlike any they had attempted before, a one-of-a-kind vehicle with expectations so high that even seasoned members of the shop felt a twinge of apprehension. Every sketch, every weld, every decision carried weight far beyond the usual challenges. From the beginning, alignment between vision and reality proved difficult. The client's tastes were exacting, shifting between subtle changes and bold new demands. What started as a detailed plan quickly evolved into an unpredictable process requiring constant adaptation. Each day in the shop became a negotiation between creative integrity and client expectation, testing patience and resolve. The scale of the build introduced technical challenges that stretched the team's expertise. Custom frame adjustments, rare material sourcing, and unconventional fabrication techniques pushed everyone to innovate on the spot. Mistakes were costly and the pressure was compounded by the looming deadline. The shop had never faced such a high-stakes project and the tension was palpable. Communication, once casual, became a battlefield. Misunderstandings escalated as the client insisted on last-minute changes that conflicted with safety or feasibility. Emails and calls multiplied, and what had begun as collaboration began to feel like constant negotiation. Each adjustment slowed progress, frustrating the team and creating a subtle erosion of trust. The situation spiraled further when the client questioned timelines and demanded compensation for delays. The disagreement that started in the workshop now carried legal weight. Documents, invoices, and correspondence were scrutinized as both sides prepared for the possibility of litigation. The build, once a labor of creativity and pride, had become a symbol of contention. Inside the shop, morale shifted. Team members who thrived on innovation found themselves under constant stress, balancing technical execution with conflict management. Long hours blurred the lines between dedication and exhaustion. Every weld and paint stroke now carried the anxiety of scrutiny and potential legal exposure, making the process as mentally demanding as it was physically challenging. The courtroom became an unlikely stage for a story that had begun with passion and artistry. Testimonies revealed the intricate layers of collaboration, highlighting both the team's skill and the client's insistence on control. Legal experts dissected contracts, creative input, and technical documentation, revealing the fragile intersection of innovation and ownership in custom automotive work. Yet even amid the dispute, there were moments of revelation. Observers learned how the shop solved impossible problems, from engineering bespoke suspension systems to crafting flawless finishes under pressure. These glimpses demonstrated that creativity can thrive under constraint, and even conflicts can highlight the depth of craftsmanship involved in every build. Resolution did not arrive cleanly. Settlements and negotiations closed the formal dispute, but the experience left lasting lessons. The team emerged more disciplined in documenting every phase, clarifying expectations, and preparing for projects with high stakes. What had begun as a single commission became a turning point, reinforcing the importance of transparency and professional safeguards in the custom industry. Above all, the saga reshaped Dave's approach to high-value clients. He learned that even when a build pushes boundaries and inspires innovation, communication and legal foresight are as critical as technical skill. This understanding would influence every subsequent project, ensuring that creativity and responsibility moved hand in hand. How would fame and skyrocketing demand put the shop under even greater strain, revealing pressures no one outside the team could see? Stay with us as the secrets grow even darker. Fame's hidden burden. The cameras captured the finishes, the gleaming curves, and the meticulous details of each build. What they did not show was the pressure building behind the walls of the shop. Overnight, inquiries multiplied from across the country, and the once manageable schedule became a tangled web of expectations. Every call, email, and message carried urgency, and every client wanted their dream realized yesterday. The team quickly realized that their workflow, perfected for small batches, could not scale to meet sudden demand. Projects that once took weeks now required daily triage, juggling resources and personnel to keep deadlines alive. Mistakes became more likely under this constant strain, and even the most experienced members felt the weight of relentless pressure. Public visibility added another layer of intensity. Fans began scrutinizing every move, from design choices to production speed. Praise came with expectation, and every minor delay or imperfection was magnified by social media and online forums. For Dave, the exhilaration of recognition was tempered by the constant awareness that one misstep could ripple far beyond the shop. Internal dynamics shifted as well. Staff who thrived in a collaborative environment now struggled under the mounting responsibilities. Burnout crept in silently, and morale fluctuated with the pace of orders. Decisions that once felt intuitive now required calculation, compromise, and constant adjustment. Even routine tasks became high-stakes exercises in prioritization. Innovation itself came under pressure. Dave found that experimental designs were harder to pursue when deadlines and expectations were inflexible. Creative risks became strategic choices weighed against feasibility and client satisfaction. The shop's signature daring, which had earned admiration, now competed with the need for efficiency and predictability. Financial stakes grew alongside fame. High-value commissions and national exposure offered opportunity, but also amplified risk. Every project carried not just artistic weight, but the potential for legal or reputational repercussions if expectations were not met. The team had to balance creativity with caution, a delicate tension that required constant vigilance. One of the more hidden consequences was personal. Dave's attention was divided between the demands of the public, the shop, and his own family life. The drive to deliver excellence began to blur lines, leaving little time for reflection or rest. The success that once felt like validation now carried a subtle cost, testing endurance and resilience in ways that viewers never saw. Despite these pressures, the team continued to innovate. Systems were redesigned to improve workflow. Communication protocols were tightened, and contingency planning became part of daily operations. The shop learned to navigate the balance between expectation and possibility, forging resilience alongside fame. Each adaptation reinforced the skill and discipline that had made them extraordinary in the first place. Yet even with improvements, the burden of visibility lingered. Every achievement carried the reminder that the spotlight could shift in an instant. The story of success was intertwined with the constant management of human and logistical limits, an unseen tension that shaped every decision and every build. The experience highlighted a truth few realize. Fame magnifies both triumph and strain, demanding that those who rise quickly must evolve just as rapidly. What strategies would Dave employ to reclaim focus, protect his team, and chart a path forward once the cameras stopped rolling? Come with us into the truth that was never meant to surface. After the cameras stopped. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, the shop that had once felt like a whirlwind of energy and constant deadlines fell into a quieter rhythm. The public scrutiny receded, and the relentless pressure of national exposure loosened its grip. Yet the absence of the spotlight did not mean an absence of work. Instead, Dave Kindig found himself navigating a new phase, one where choices were deliberate rather than reactionary, and priorities were shaped by vision rather than obligation. The first noticeable change was in how projects were selected. With fame no longer dictating the pace or volume of commissions, Dave began to embrace selectivity. Instead of trying to meet every request or chasing high-profile opportunities, he focused on projects that spoke to personal curiosity, offered unique creative challenges, or allowed the team to experiment with techniques they had long wanted to try. This intentional curation not only enhanced quality, but also rekindled the excitement that had fueled his early career. Time management shifted as well. Without the constant demands of television production schedules, Dave could dedicate hours to the aspects of design that mattered most to him. Early mornings became moments for sketching, testing new paint methods, or prototyping unconventional parts. Afternoons allowed for collaboration with his team, not under the lens of cameras, but in the freedom to iterate and refine without the pressure of immediate public consumption. This renewed structure allowed him to rediscover the joy of creation itself. Community engagement emerged as another focal point. Dave began investing time in mentorship, workshops, and local events where enthusiasts could experience the craft up close. Teaching young fabricators and sharing knowledge became a way to give back, while also fostering a network of creativity that extended beyond the shop's walls. These efforts were not for publicity or ratings. They were personal, organic, and rooted in a genuine desire to inspire the next generation. He started hosting small, hands-on sessions where attendees could try their hand at metal shaping, welding, and custom paint techniques, offering insights that went far beyond what videos or TV could convey. The interactions became a source of energy for Dave as he witnessed curiosity and excitement in others, fueling his own creative drive and reminding him why he had started building in the first place. Family and personal life gained new prominence. Years of long nights, constant travel, and the demands of national attention had left little room for reflection or personal relationships. With the show concluded, Dave could reclaim space for the people and experiences that mattered most. Time spent with family, hobbies outside of automotive work, and moments of introspection provided balance, grounding him in a way that fame had previously prevented. Innovation continued, but on a different timeline. The absence of immediate broadcast deadlines allowed for deeper exploration of materials, techniques, and processes. He experimented with combinations of metals and composites that previously had been too risky under tight schedules. The team pursued paint methods that layered color in ways that created depth and illusion. Without cameras recording every step, failure became a necessary and instructive part of experimentation, freeing the shop to push boundaries further than ever before. They could refine complex ideas over weeks or months, developing methods that would eventually define the next era of the shop's signature style. Financial and strategic planning also took on a more sustainable approach. The experience of explosive demand and high-profile commissions had been a lesson in both opportunity and risk. Now, decisions were guided by long-term growth rather than short-term visibility. Investments in shop infrastructure, training, and innovation were made deliberately, ensuring that future challenges could be met without the chaos that had once accompanied national attention. Perhaps most importantly, Dave's philosophy on creativity and leadership matured. The intensity of fame had revealed both the exhilaration and the vulnerability inherent in high-visibility work. He learned to protect his team's well-being, foster open communication, and establish boundaries that preserved both quality and morale. Leadership became less about immediate results and more about sustaining a culture where creativity could thrive alongside professional accountability. The quiet period also inspired reflection on legacy. Dave considered not just the cars he had built, but the imprint of his work on the industry and the people around him. He began documenting processes, writing down design philosophies, and capturing lessons learned, ensuring that knowledge would endure beyond individual projects or media exposure. This period became as much about preserving wisdom as it was about producing tangible creations. Even without the glare of television, Dave's reputation continued to draw attention, but now on his terms. Select clients sought him out not for spectacle, but for artistry and expertise. Every project was approached deliberately, allowing for deeper collaboration, creativity, and personal satisfaction. The pace was sustainable, the stakes meaningful, and the process aligned with the values he had cultivated over decades of hands-on work. Ultimately, this quieter phase marked a transformation. From the early days of experimentation in a small garage to national recognition and courtroom drama, Dave Kindig had learned to navigate fame, pressure, and creative ownership. With the cameras gone, he could focus on the craft itself, mentor others, and live with intention. The story of his rise was no longer measured by screens or ratings, but by the enduring influence of his work, the culture of his shop, and the fulfillment he drew from creating on his own terms. In this phase of his life, success was no longer defined by visibility or speed, but by purpose, mastery, and the quiet satisfaction of building something that would last, both in metal and in legacy. Were you shocked by the untold struggles, hidden pressures, and surprising twists in Dave Kindig's journey from small-time craftsman to national star? From courtroom drama to managing fame, his story reveals challenges behind the garage doors. Share with us which part of his journey left you speechless and changed the way you see the man behind Bitchin Rides.